And we are live. Welcome to the Foxtrot Sierra Podcast. And this is your host, Franco Sierra, and with a special guest, DL Saint from DL Saint I Really Want to Know podcast. So here we go. Yeah, welcome back to the Foxtrot Sierra Podcast. Once again, this is Franco Sierra. All right, a couple of few quick announcements. Instagram. Follow me on Instagram at the Foxtrot Sierra Podcast, where I post various short stories and short clips. So you can give me a follow, give me a like, so I can level up on the algorithm, so I can give you this nice, sweet content. YouTube search. You can search me for the Foxtrot Sierra Podcast. You can look at that nice hang on, that logo at the bottom right corner. You can find me there, and that's how you can search me. YouTube search at the Foxtrot Sierra Podcast. Excuse me. And Reddit, finally on Reddit, same thing as Instagram. Post shorts, various pictures. And in fact, I check out the last story I post. Just go ahead and check it. And once again, give it a like and follow. And yeah, and special guest today is DL Saint from DL Saint I Really Want to Know podcast. All right, you're probably wondering, who is this sexy man over here? All right, I'll leave it to sexy.
You. What's good? How y'all doing, man? I'm DL Saint. DL Saint I Really Want to Know podcast. Like, who is this guy on your screen? I am a retired air traffic controller. I'm a stand-up comedian, but my primary mission in life and my most important gig is that I am a single dad. So that's what I spend the majority of my time doing, is raising my beautiful daughter and doing all that kind of stuff. And the little time I have left over, I'm doing this stuff. You catch me on stage performing. You catch me 5 times a week. I don't even have days locked in yet. I'm up every day, generally Monday through Friday, sometimes Saturday, sometimes Sunday. I'm out there grinding, y'all. And that's on my YouTube, DL Saying I Really Want to Know podcast, where we talk about everything under the sun, from what's going on politically to what's going on Hollywood, like how to write a script, what's it like to be a Hollywood actor, to what's it like to be retired. We talk about everything. I even have an episode talking to some people who are modern day knights in shining armor. Yeah, they put on armor and they fight each other in a cage with axes and swords. And this is what they do for fun. Turns out this thing has like a worldwide league. America has a national team. That's right, people. I really want to know. So that's what that's all about. That's where you can find me. And then I met this knucklehead via Fresh and Fit world. You know what I mean? Shout out to Myron and Fresh, the whole Fresh and Fit fam. And we just kind of linked up. You know what I mean? Over there in their world, man, men are always encouraging each other to go out and do good things, do the work. You know what I mean? Shout out to Rich Cooper. And we both decided to get out there and do our thing at the same time. And we noticed that we both were doing these podcasts. And he's like, yo, man, we gotta collab. I'm like, bet, let's do it. And I know a little bit about World War II, a little bit about Vietnam, a little bit about Korea, and so on and so on. I'm as you see behind me on that flag, I'm a former U.S. paratrooper, veteran of Desert Storm. So I know a little bit about conflict on a global scale. I am trained by the best. And I am very proud of my service. So yeah. And then today we're gonna talk about Dunkirk, right?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was a sweet introduction. Once again, I got to give it Don DeMarco for that one.
Appreciate it, bro.
All right. Before we get into Dunkirk, let's hang on. let's review last episode. More like last episode, more like the last collaboration that you and I had, which is pretty much talking about the downfall of France.
Right. We were talking about the beginning of World War II and how France managed to be so easily defeated, which it really boiled down to a general not listening to information that he got from his own soldiers. We talked about that road to Ardennes. It was full of the entire German army, and the French general in command knew it and didn't act on that information, and the rest is history. But just imagine that, y'all. There never would have been a World War II. It would have ended right there on that road had that general been smart enough to listen. That's all it boils down to.
Yeah, what the DLs talk about is the biggest military traffic jam in military history, which is beyond the Ardennes Forest. Which you know what, guys, watch that episode. Go to DL's episode. Go to his channel. Give it a like so we can both level up and we can party all night long, baby. That's what's up.
Yeah, check that out, man. And like for me, like definitely do that. Definitely definitely want to get this push in the algorithm and all that. But honestly, just watch and learn, and then encourage other people to learn, because isn't that why you even started this, brother, to be honest?
Oh, yeah, because it's getting to the point where, like, no one even knows about this conflict. Like, no one, like, little people know so little on what these people died for. Like, some of these people don't even know what the Holocaust is, dude. If I can tell you who's General MacArthur, they'll be like, what? Is that a hot dog? Or some dumb shit like that. Oh, excuse me. Some dumb like that. So we will talk about more in detail on that for the show. But, however, back to the show of Dunkirk. All right. Before Dunkirk, Hitler launches his Blitzkrieg attack on the Low Countries and into Belgium and France. The man who unveiled this bold plan, as we reviewed before, is Field Marshal Erich von Manstein, the man who executed the plan. Sorry, correction. Let me reword that again. The man himself who actually executed the plan, it was Field Marshal Heinz Guderian. And all right, so German launches Fog Lieb, which is Case Yellow, or known as Operation Case Yellow, and attacks Low Countries using Army Group B. As you see the picture in front of you, compliments to this big book I have, World War II by Smithsonian. You'll see elements of Army Group C joining with Army Group B. All right, remember I told you Army Group C that they were supposed to keep the Maginot Line at bay? Yeah, they managed to seep through and flank around the Maginot Line, while elements of the Army Group C is joining up with the assault with Army Group B, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, and for those of you guys who are watching, because it's gonna sound real technical at certain points because it has to. We gotta tell you what's going on and show you what's going on. But basically, World War II had just kicked off. Mm-hmm. Germany was surprised that Great Britain and France declared war. They had been getting away with so much. They've been pushing the envelope, pushing boundaries, breaking promises, just doing what they wanted to do, and finally they went too far. You know what I mean? They went too far, and according to the Treaty of Versailles, France and Great Britain decided that they were going to hold up their end and declared war. Now, they didn't. Hitler was a little taken aback by this because his focus was going to be on Russia, and I know you guys are saying, but he had a pact with Russia. He sure did, but he wanted to deal with that first. He was kind of surprised at the response from Great Britain and France, so it went down. Like, all right, it's time to fight. Everybody was time. It was time to get it going. And France had a great army, a great standing army. Great Britain had the best navy on the planet. So I guess they figured between the two of them, man, they can handle these little punks coming out of Germany or whatever with these nice Hugo Boss uniforms. They can handle it. And we found out very quickly that no, they couldn't. So this gets us into this plan. So this is what was going on. The opening stages of this battle, like always, all the young men are eager to go out there and, experience war and win awards and medals and honor. And then they get out there and realize what war is all about, and there's no honor in it. I'm here to tell you, There's no honor in it. It ain't nothing but killing. And they found that out real quick. And so that's what we're talking about here. So what got them to that point? What got them backed up all the way to Dunkirk is what we're going to discuss right now.
Indeed. Yeah. So okay. So how the Allies banked on the idea that the main German thrust going to be through the Low Countries was the Mechelen Incident, which I will show you on the next slide. Therefore, again, concentrating their main forces in northeastern France, allowing the Germans to launch Fall Rot, Case Red, using Army Group A.
Right. And one thing to remember, guys.
Let me start again. Army Group B was going through the Low Countries. Army Group A was the main thrust to the Ardennes, and Army Group C is the guys who hold the Maginot Line. Sorry, I had to correct myself there for a moment because I switched up B and A by mistake. So that's my bad because I was such a dumbass.
It's all good. It happens to the best of them. But one thing y'all need to remember, when you're watching something like this, the command generals, the generals on the ground are always fighting the previous war. Mm-hmm. You rarely come across a general who's prepared for what's coming next.
Yeah. So
that's what they were doing. They were prepared to fight World War I again. Okay, This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to keep away from trenches. Mechanized infantry, mechanized armor, like Blitzkrieg, that was all brand new. So we can't get mad at them for not preparing for something that never happened before. But we can be mad at them for not listening to reports from their aviators. But you know what I mean? This is how it works. This is how it works. So they were prepared to fight the war that they previously fought. They were not prepared to fight this fast-moving new kind of warfare that Hitler and his generals, well, one general, had come up with.
Exactly. All right. Anyway, Army Group C, led by Field Marshal William von Lieb, keeps the French at Maginot Line occupied, if any, find a way to breach around it. However, Army Group A launches Blitzkrieg, using Pervitin to stimulate troops and panzer advancements through the French countryside. Sedan, Saint-Quentin, Amman, Abbeville, and Noyelles captured within days. And I gotta tell you guys this right here. So hold on. Sedan through by the Ardennes is not only weakly fortified. The French have I don't know how you call it, a skeleton base defense there, and that town was practically the gateway through northern France. If that makes sense to you, because you catch Sedan, then you catch all of the cities, like I mentioned, Saint Quentin, Amiens, etc.
Yeah, and keep in mind, people, they just got finished fighting a war that they measured in inches and feet. They're not thinking about a war that's going to be measured in, town by town. They're taking so much ground that they're like, oh man, they're just sweeping through cities. This was unheard of.
Mm-hmm. And again, using Pervitin, if you watch our last episode together, we discussed this drug that's, I'm just going to keep it 100 with you guys. It's crystal meth in pill form. So they perform quote unquote Superman. Yeah, of course, it's Nazis on crack, dude.
Nazis on crack, berserkers, man. They were worse than the Vikings. So, hey, man, gotta do what you gotta do. But and the generals knew they could only use it for so long.
Yeah.
So they had to make these advances because they knew that all their soldiers were gonna crash. Mm-hmm. So they had to be part of their battle plan.
No, exactly. Not to mention, it's for morale purposes. Remember that hang on. Rewind back to what DL mentioned before, the military traffic jam. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so while they were waiting, German troops were sitting there idly, and they're kind of second-guessing their position in the war. They're thinking, wow, this is what we did the last war? Raped and pillaged? This is not cool. And the German officers knew, it's like, uh-oh. And they're like, this is a morale concern. So, you know what they did? Pop Pervitin. Oh, sorry. Gave them Pervitin. Correction. And next thing you know, they pop it in. Once the attack comes by, they didn't give two about the last war or their stance on it. All they care about is their patriots wanting to claim back German honor, and they don't care about what happens because that's what crystal meth does. Yeah, it removes the empathy, the humility in you.
Yeah, and your teeth. So be careful with it.
Oh yeah, that too. And next thing you know, you'll have like gums and pimples everywhere. Like, oh, it's horrible. Don't do drugs, kids. Don't do drugs.
That's
Anyway.
real talk.
Anyway, back to the show. The last thing the Allies could do at this point was to launch one last counterattack, break through the German corridor before they could be fortified. All right, so you know that. Can you see this map over here? You see Germans sweeping through Dinant, Cambrai, Arras, all the way up to the coast, going from right to left.
I can see that. But I mean, it's small for me, but keep going. It's going to be hard for me to read.
All right. No, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the arrow motion.
Yes.
Okay. At least you got that. That's all. Okay. The French, under the command of Maurice Gamelin, that's the general you're talking about. General Gamelin, who ignored the reconnaissance report. He tried to devise a plan to do a pinch maneuver, attack that corridor, north and south simultaneously before it could be fortified by Rommel. However, he was relieved of command and was replaced by Maxime Weygand. However, Weygand did try to continue with Gamelin's plan, but the time to transition the commanders bought Field Marshal Erwin Rommel enough time to fortify those corridors. So, therefore, the BEF, the British Expeditionary Force, attempted to use Matilda tanks. These are like some big freaking beasts. Beast tanks, I'll show you on the next slide. To break through the corridor, since they were nearly invincible to German anti-tank guns. However, the Germans discovered something. They used their 88 flat gun cannons and used them against Matilda tanks. And you're probably wondering, wait a minute, were those 88s meant for against airplanes only? Yes, that is correct. However, they discovered something infamous. They discovered that their famous 88 millimeter anti-aircraft flat gun could also be used as an anti-tank gun with devastating effects, and therefore it was feared throughout the war.
Yeah, it was also an anti-personnel. That weapon was the most fearsome weapon in the German arsenal. I mean, those men who survived the war, who are alive today, will tell you about the German 88s. There's no joke. simply put, no joke. So there you go. There's your British.
Matilda.
Your British Matilda, MK2.
Yep, the Mark II. And then you have the German 88 anti-aircraft and anti-tank gun. The 88 picture I took compliments to my trip to the Canadian War Museum up in Ottawa, Ontario. Go check it out when you get a chance, when you're up north.
Yeah,
assuming that you're double. Excuse me. Assuming that you're double V'd because my prime minister is being such a
dumbass.
God, I hate that twat. Anyway, I'm not gonna go in deep in politics right now. But anyway, there you have it. That is the picture of the two right there. All right. This right here will be very interesting. The Mechelen Incident. All right. How are the Allies convinced that the main German thrust will be through the Low Countries? Low Countries, I meant the Netherlands and Belgium. All right. On the question. On the 10th of January, 1940, an aircraft carrying a German officer named Major Helmuth Reinberger to Cologne. The pilot, Major Eric Hoyman, Hoyman, lost his way due to fog, and then unintentionally cut off the fuel supply of the plane's engine by moving the lever inside the cockpit. So I assume it was a poorly designed cockpit that he must have turned something, hit his elbow on something, and caused the engine to choke or something.
Yeah, man. I'm a retired air traffic controller.
Yeah, I was going to ask you your intake on it.
Yeah, I don't know. People don't realize how tight it is in an aircraft, right? Especially when you're talking about light aircraft. You know what I mean? It's if you go to the front, which they won't let you do anymore because of 9/11, but if you ever get a chance to get into the cockpit of a 737, 747, whatever, even there, that's a big airplane, and it's not a whole lot of room up there, really. You can only put, depending on type aircraft, 3, maybe 4 people up there.
Yeah, I remember what was a. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, so I was gonna say, I remember when I was a kid back in 95, 96. Trip to Chile. At the time, as you said, people were allowed to go into cockpits before 9/11. So, fortunate for me, I had the opportunity, and I can remember vague memories of the cockpit. And as you said, as a kid, it's big everywhere, right? So I remember seeing all these analog buttons. I see the pilot, the co-pilot, the navigator at the time. And I remember my sister saying, "Wow, it's so cramped up in here." Like that I do remember, but as a kid, I was like, again, it's big because I was little. I guess I was maybe 8, 9 years old at the time.
Yeah, so for 2 regular sized men in a light aircraft, single engine light aircraft like this Messerschmitt BF 108, those guys will be sitting in there shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah, so like this one right here.
Yeah, so you're talking about having extra equipment. You got your gear. There's going to be stuff you just kind of squished in there. So it's real easy for a pilot or someone else who's up front who's not familiar with that aircraft to hit something. Like the fuel mixture is done by hand. Like people want you got to mix fuel and oil. You got to do it by hand in those type airplanes. It's not something that's automatic. Remember, they didn't have computers back then. Right? That wasn't a big thing. So you had to do your computer was inside your head. That's why pilots were always writing stuff down and figuring stuff out. So it's real easy to inadvertently hit something that could kill your engine. And right, and you won't be able to get that engine started again. You have to land somewhere. Hopefully you didn't die. And you got to prime the engine, find a place to turn around, get a little runway and take off. So that makes complete sense. Something like that happening can easily happen today. It can happen today because you can find someone probably has a Messerschmitt BF 108. They're just an aviation enthusiast. They probably have one of these in the house.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah,
hell yeah. I guarantee you, you'll probably see them in museums, air shows. Yeah.
All you gotta do is you go to one of the biggest air shows in the world every year is Oshkosh. Right, go to Oshkosh and you'll see all these type airplanes, everything that's flying. And from the past all the way up through the future. So, you know what I mean? And if you ever get a chance to see a light aircraft, you poke your head in there, you see how tight it is. You're like, oh my goodness. And you have to be careful. Keep your hands in your lap if you're flying around. Don't touch nothing. That's where that came from. Don't touch nothing.
Oh, have you been inside an Avro Lancaster by any chance?
A Lancaster, no.
Oh, dude, even that big bomber, it's tight core enough. And I think the air crew is 8+, somewhere around there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because I've been in Flying Fortress. I've been in B-17s.
I was gonna say what's that like? Because that was one of my favorite bombers.
Yeah, it's scary. That's the old piece of equipment. You know what I mean? And it's just things like the landing gear collapse all the time. Those things were built like fortresses, hence the name, the Flying Fortress. I've been in a Mitchell, and the Mitchells were a 2-engine mid-range bomber. They actually saw action in Korea as well. They're fast. They're B-26s. They're really fast. They were modified with machine guns, and they would fly night missions in Korea and in Vietnam, and they would just strafe everything they find at night. So they modified the B-26s and stuff like that. And then of course you had the Mitchell, which is what they flew to bomb Japan.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's Doolittle's Raiders.
Doolittle's
right?
raid.
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
So, I mean, and all those aircraft are tight. I mean, they're small. They're compared to the day, they're slow. The men who flew in those things, superheroes, because it's not like they had any kind of armor. Like any kind of bullet comes just going right through that airplane. It's gonna hit whatever's in there. So, but yeah, man, I was fortunate enough to see all that stuff where I worked.
Nice. That is awesome. All right, so yeah, whenever you get a chance to get inside an Averill Lancaster, it's no different than a B-17. Even though I do plan on seeing the Memphis Belle in the near future.
You'd be surprised there's room in there, but it's not it's not as big as you would think. It's like, wow, they flew all over Europe in these things. Like, wow.
Anyway, back to the show. Now we kind of veered off on airplanes though, but that was good. I kind of like those talks. Anyway, as when he cut the engine choke, I assume. The plane's engine cut off and crash landed near the Belgian border town Mechelen. Reinberger attempted to burn the documents containing the plans for Case Yellow, while Helmuth distracts the border guards. I don't know if it's Dutch or Belgian, though. But however, the border guards confiscated documents that weren't totally burned away and unveiled Case Yellow. So therefore, that's how the not only the Allies knew that the main German thrust is going to go through the Low Countries. The German High Command have no choice but to go with von Manstein's bold plan, which they rejected in the first place.
Yeah, that's some shit I didn't know, and it makes sense. It's like, all right, now we got to do it. We've been compromised. We got to go. So, and they'll never expect us because we don't even want to do this.
Yeah.
So, that makes sense.
Exactly. All right. So, people, the moment you've been waiting for, Operation Dynamo. All right. So, this is the timeline that we're going to go through here. All right. So, on Sunday, 26th of November, Hitler cancels the controversial Halt order and resumes offensive operations towards Dunkirk. Operation Dynamo is ordered to commence. All right, so let's talk about the Halt order. That men like Heinz Guderian was like, what the fuck? Why are we holding? We have the Allies on the ropes. Why are we holding? All right, well, there was a couple of theories as to why. Yeah, we can do a conspiracy all you want. No, but one of the reasons was Hitler wanted to make peace with Churchill, saying, "Hey, I'm sparing you men. Make peace with me." What do you think, DL?
Those kind of calls come from the higher ups, man. You call back to the rear, you call back to command. Those orders come down. You got to stop. Mm-hmm. You're looking like, all right, there they are. And yeah, this would bite Hitler in the ass. I mean, just keeping it 100. Had he listened to his generals in the field, Britain would have failed to Nazi Germany that year or the following year. You know what I mean? And you guys, you'll find out as we get to towards the end of this, what the UK was able to do with the help of their brave citizens and their small boats, you know what I mean, was amazing. And it was, if you would draw that up, it would, people like, there's no way that's going to work. There's no way in hell it's going to work. You're going to get how many? But this is how the world really goes, man. You just never know what's going to happen. You have to let it play out. So, Winston Churchill was so happy that Hitler did what he did, gave them an opportunity to bought them just enough time to figure out a plan to make things work in their favor.
100%, 100. And in fact, I got a couple of short bites of Churchill's speeches that I want to share with you guys later on after the show. One speech was "We shall never surrender," and the other one was "This was their finest hour." I'm not going to show you like the whole 5 minutes of it because otherwise you're going to be like sleeping.
Yeah, but that's a great one. We will fight them on the beaches and the hills.
Yeah. I got that. And plus, I got some music in the background which makes it 100 times more epic. So you'll love it. The folks will love it, and they will like it. All right. Anyway, Monday, May 27th of May, the operation's first full day, the Luftwaffe destroys the harbor. The actual main harbor, only 7,669 troops, and ended up being rescued. Tuesday, 28th of May, Belgium surrenders. All right, so King Leopold II, without consulting the British nor the French, he secretly makes peace with the Nazis and surrenders. And Britain and France were like, "What? What the fuck?" Therefore, it's not like the Belgians were keeping keeping the British and the French as well in the loop as well. They were kind of like, oh, during this unlikely alliance. Well, this alliance, let's just say, it was communication with one another was absolute, if that makes sense.
I mean, you got to think about it. It has to make sense. Again, they didn't have 5G or wherever we got now. What we got, like 10G now, whatever it is. They couldn't just send a text.
Yeah.
Yo, fellas, I'm about to surrender. It wasn't a thing. There's a war going on. You completely cut off. You can't get word out, and you have to think about your people. Like, I'm not going to allow my people to continue to suffer. This is going to be what it's going to be. You know what I mean? And Belgium wasn't the only one that did something like this, as you'll see as we continue. So, exactly. You have leaders who are just sitting back and they're like, damn. I tell people this all the time, man. Like, you can't get mad at folks for doing what they believe is right, especially when you're talking about a war. Like, why continue to allow your people to suffer, to like let men and women die, children die, people go hungry, when you know it's over? You do the best you can. It would have been nice if he could have coordinated, absolutely, but there was no communication.
And plus, it really, really over the BEF and the French, because it completely leaves their left flank exposed. So they have no choice but to withdraw everyone from Dunkirk and what's the town called? The Lille. Lille. I can't even pronounce it properly. Lille. Lille. I'm being dyslexic right now. Me being a
dumbass.
All right,
nah, bro. You don't speak French, neither do I. It is what it is, man. So just spit it out. You know what I mean? And we just push forward.
And I'm Canadian, so apparently I'm supposed to speak French, but I can't.
Nah, just a small part of y'all country that speaks French.
Shout out to my Quebecois out there. Love them guys. Anyway, Tuesday, 28th of May, not only Belgium surrenders, but good news for the people at the Dunkirk. Cloud and smoke filled the coastline. More additional troops. Is a huge amount. 47,310 troops. All right, so the harbor was destroyed. So they used various stuff, which we will talk about later. One of them, spoiler alert, is what you call a harbor mole. We'll discuss that more on later. And okay. So Wednesday, 29th of May, Luftwaffe launches more attacks. And in case you're wondering what the Luftwaffe is, that is practically the German Air Force. So, well, let's break this down. German Air Force, Luftwaffe. German Army, the Wehrmacht. And the German Navy, the Kriegsmarine. All right? That's in case people are wondering what that means. So, there you have it. Anyway, that's how additional troops were rescued. On Wednesday, 29th of May, Luftwaffe launches more attacks. The French ended up joining the evacuation efforts. More troops, 47,310 troops were rescued. I think that's a miscount. I think that's the right number. Well, I'll check on you guys later on that, though. But okay, Thursday, 30th of May, bad weather interferes with the Luftwaffe strikes. German panzers withdraw from Dunkirk. So, what does that mean? Okay, that means that. Oh, how can I put this? What's the guy's name? Hermann Goering. He ended up persuading Hitler, saying, "You know what? withdraw Guderian's troops. Let us, the Luftwaffe, take it down, because my Führer, I swear to you, I can take him down with a Luftwaffe. Just give me time, and I will destroy him for you. So Hitler once again persuaded, convinced, allow Göring to launch aircraft still. But what he didn't count on was the weather, of course, and that's how they ended up rescuing more and more troops by the thousands, by the tens of thousands. Correction.
Yeah, anytime you get a break, you gotta capitalize on that, and that's what Britain did better than anyone doing this time frame. They seized the moment whenever it presented themselves, because they knew they were in real trouble, right? So when you look at what's going on with Germany at this time, they had complete superiority. They controlled the air, they controlled the ground, right? So they could do what they wanted to do. Hitler had his own plans, and then this thing with Göring, you know what I mean? Like, okay, whenever you got generals in a wartime situation, they want to use their own guys. So if you got the Air Force guys going to want to use the Air Force, the Navy guys going to want to use the Navy, the Army and the Marine guys are going to want to use their guy. Everyone wants the glory, right? Because they're not on the battlefield. And then you look at this man. This man was like he was a fighter pilot from World War I, very flamboyant guy. He was with Hitler from the very beginning, did all sorts of stuff. So you had that dynamic. Say again?
And he was an ace.
Yeah, he was an ace in World War I. So he and Hitler had a rapport. So it was like, come on, bro. It's like he's talking to his homie. Like, come on, man, let me get this. All right, man, we're going to take it. Why we build this Air Force if we ain't going to use it?
There you go.
And this happened. It happened at Dunkirk, and it happened again during the Battle of Britain.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, come on, man, I got this. Let me do it. And, because of that friendship, you got to look at that. If they weren't so close, maybe Hitler would have said no. Maybe Hitler wouldn't have stopped, his push, his army, and this all would have turned out different.
100. And if you're wondering how was the relationship so close? Well, they were that close since the beer hall pooched. If you don't know what that is, go back to my episode 10, Rise of the Third Reich. On your way there, give it a like so we can level up. And of course, go to DL's channel, give his channel a like as well. Subscribe to his channel as well, so he can level up in the algorithm as well, baby.
And I appreciate that. Even if you don't want to like my stuff, just watch it. I'm at a point now where I really want you to watch. I need views more than likes and more than subscriptions, to be honest with you. I will take whatever you give me, people. But please go and just check out our stuff. We did a really good show on artificial intelligence and cybernetics. There was another show on cybernetics. We're going to do a show tonight. We're going to be talking about why so many successful women are single. So we're over there working hard as well, man. So if you come over there, you just really want to do me a favor, watch and share. Helps me more right now than anything else. And I appreciate that, bro.
No problem, brother. No problem. All right. All right. Anyway, we're on Thursday or Friday?
Thursday.
All right. Thursday, 30th of May. Bad weather once again interferes with Luftwaffe strikes. German panzers withdraw from Dunkirk. 53,823 troops were rescued. Friday, 31st of May. 35,000 troops captured at Lille. So you have the French surrounded at this city. They did whatever they could to lock and load, blast that German axe. So what? Unfortunate for the French, they were surrounded, cut off, and had to surrender. 35,000 of them.
Yeah, say what you want about the French, but that French rear guard action really is what made it all happen. Dunkirk wouldn't have happened if it weren't for that French rear guard action. Those guys knew they were surrounded. Those guys knew there was only one way it was going to end. They knew all they were doing was buying time, and they bought as much time as they could have. I mean, it's like, think about that. Every second, every minute, you're exchanging blood and lives for.
And that was a small fraction of the town. There was another town that made a huge difference, which we will talk about on the next slide.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right. However, good news. Dynamo sees its biggest day. 68,000 more than 68,000 troops rescued. However, on Saturday, 1st of June, bad news for the Allies, good news for the Luftwaffe, as clear weather gives. Oh, hang on. Am I on? There we go. Supposed to slide that over. Once again, Saturday, 1st of June, clear weather gives Luftwaffe its biggest day. They end up sinking 4 destroyers and 27 other vessels. Good news once again for the Allies. 62,429 troops were rescued. Sunday, 2nd of June, the BEF evacuation complete. So, the admiral coordinating all this, Admiral Bertrand Ramsey. He was coordinating it through what was that one underground castle in England?
The underground castle.
No, sorry, it was an underground facility, which his team was coordinating from.
Yeah, I forget the name of it, but it's basically British headquarters, and even Churchill was down there.
Yeah. I can't remember the top of my head though, but I will tell you folks about that if it pops in my head. Anyway, 26,256 troops were rescued, and now since the British are evacuated, Ramsey now wants to get the French over as well, and whoever else. Like it's not soldiers as well; it's refugees, Jewish citizens trying to get away from the upcoming Nazi aggression that's got to be facing them if they decided to stay. Monday, 3rd of June, more troops rescued. 26,746 troops were rescued. And Tuesday, 4th of June, last night at Dynamo, 26,175 troops were rescued. So what do you think of that, people?
The thing is, doing something like that, if they'd only got a quarter of those soldiers out of there, that would have been successful. Mm-hmm. History looks back on it and like, oh, too bad they couldn't get any of that equipment out of there. Like, bro, you can make more tanks, you can make more Jeeps, or you can do what they did and you can lease it and get it from the U.S. You know what I mean? Get it from other places, but you need soldiers. There is no, until now, there's never been a replacement for good old riflemen. But now we got, we got drones, and now we got robot dogs with, built-in guns. It's a whole different kind of landscape. But back then, you needed a rifleman. So the fact that they got all those guys out, what was the grand total? Something in the neighborhood of 300,000 soldiers that they were able to evacuate. And then maybe that included 100,000 or so French and others. I don't have the stats in front of me, but they got a lot of soldiers out, which you're gonna need to defend your island, right? Because Britain's an island. So that was a feat, nothing short of a miracle. And the way that they did it, I guess you're gonna talk about how they were able to get those men from the beaches to the bigger ships.
Yeah. They were using small boats. They were using rowing boats. They're pretty much going all the way till like the deepest part of the water. They get on a small boat. If from a small boat, they get onto the big ships, hoping that they don't get strafed by a Stuka or a Heinkel.
Right. And you're talking about like the Stukas are the dive bombers, and then like the Heinkels and the Messerschmitts were out there firing away. But when you look at that, they basically militarized all vessels of certain sizes. They put out a request to all the citizens. This is what we're doing. We need you to bring us your yachts, your tugboats, your this, your that. If it fits this size, if it's motorized. And the British people, not only did they give up their boats, but they crewed their own boat, their own vessels. They're like, not only we're going to do this, but we're going to take our boats over there and get our boys back. Which is just, when you want to talk about patriotism, you want to talk about love for your country. That is amazing. I mean, again, as an American warrior, every time I think about that, I just sit there and I'm like, wow, would Americans do the same? I know there are a lot of Americans who would, There are a lot of Americans who would not. They'll give you the boat, but we ain't going. Here you go. Here go the keys. But you know what I mean. But for what those British citizens did for their country was amazing. And all this was before the Battle of Britain and before the Blitz that was coming their way. So that was just amazing.
100%. Which kind of glad you said that, DL, because which jumps onto the next slide. Top 5 reasons how Dunkirk was so successful. Miracle at Dunkirk. My top 5 reasons, in my opinion, and DL can jump in and elaborate on one of them. So, first reason.
Round 1, fight.
Calais. All right. Remember we were talking. DL was talking about the French situation over at Lille. Well, in Calais, while troops were ordered to Dunkirk, other troops were ordered to dig in and hold. In order for Operation Dynamo to take full effect, Winston Churchill orders Brigadier General Claude Nicholson to hold the city port of Calais at all costs. So, Churchill's exact words to him, I believe, were, "The eyes of the empire are upon you. Need to hold at all costs." Again, I'm just paraphrasing here. Not exactly 100% what he said, though, but it's something along those lines. So, imagine the pressure on Nicholson's shoulders, like saying, "Yo, dude, this is important. Like, you need to hold this city at all costs." Because you know why? Because as what DL said over at Lille, to buy troops at Dunkirk enough time to evacuate. Of course, many opportunities for evacuation for the people of Calais. However, Nicholson and his troops kept fighting to the last magazine, to the last bullet. The BEF at Calais surrenders in 3 days. However, buys Dunkirk plenty of time to evacuate troops.
Yeah, and this is one of the things about war. This is how it is. We need to occupy as many soldiers as we can.
Mm-hmm.
So the British generals understood this. Churchill understood this. It's like, look, we need these guys to stay here so these German troops that are down here attacking them aren't freed up to come attack us as we make this great evacuation attempt. And the orders came down. Yeah, that's a lot of pressure as a general. It was so much pressure on him that he survived the attacks. He was captured. And if I'm not mistaken, he self-deleted himself because he felt he was a failure to his country. And he went to the great unknown, not realizing that he was in fact a hero. And his people, loved him more than ever for what he and his men did. When you get an order that says, to the last man at all costs, when you get those kind of orders, you know what that is. That means you got to die. That's basically what they're telling you. You have to die. You stay here. He did not give the every man to himself order until they were pretty much out of everything.
Yeah.
And so that man is indeed a true hero. And for someone who's been in the field, those are the kind of orders you do not want. Hold at all costs. You do not want that order. But when it comes down, that's what you got to do because that's what you sign up for. So, and that was very honorable, man. What he did was outstanding. I only wish that he had held out long enough to see the end of the war and could have come home to the hero's welcome that he had earned.
That is what's up, my friend. That is what's up. Claude Nicholson, RIP.
Yeah, anyway, for real. Rest in greatness, brother.
Rest in greatness. All right. Round number 2.
Round 2, fight.
The weather itself. Some days, the port got hit with cloudy weather. Pretty much like from high clouds to low clouds. Gusts of winds itself shift the smoke from the burning harbor into the skies above the beach. That allowed the troops to safety get into smaller boats and into bigger ships without any Luftwaffe interference. And now, round 3.
Round 3. Fight!
The harbor mole that we're talking about. The ones at Dunkirk were originally designed to be used as a pier, breakwater, or causeway separating two bodies of water. In other words, how else do you describe a harbor mole, deal?
I mean, that's stuff that we didn't even do. You know what I mean? You're talking about some, as my military service and what we were doing was so far advanced compared to, they might as well have been fighting with sticks and stones, bro. So you got a harbor mole that's going to be out there and it's going to basically separate two bodies of water, just like the designation says. Back then, in order to move stuff around, everything had to be moved by ship pretty much. We still do that today, but you need docks and harbors to offload and load up because the ships can't come in. They're so big, they can't come in close to the water like that. So, close into the land like that. So, you're going to need something. And that's why it was so imperative. It was one of your biggest targets if you're a bomber or a fighter is to take out these harbors, take out these docks. Once you do that, again, if they didn't do this, if they didn't get those small boats, all those men still would have been stranded on the beach. So but I've never seen a harbor mole. Only time I've ever seen them is watching these, documentaries and stuff like that. That's not something that even the combat engineers of today would use.
Exactly, 100. Anyway, these harbor moles are not meant to offload and unload people onto ships. However, they did it anyway, and guess what? It doubled the coordination efforts. They managed to get the troops up by the tens of thousands that I mentioned earlier. Anyways, one of the naval officers in charge of the evacuation, Captain William Tennant, seizes opportunity and orders the ship to arrive and departs from there. Once again, tripling the evacuation efforts. All right. Now,
that's the thing about war. Like, you got to do what you got to do. When you talk about, men being problem solvers, like that last bit there at the very end, they were talking about how the Royal Engineers decided they had to come up with a way to make piers as well. So they just took a bunch of boats and blown up stuff and shoved them together, and they were able to make a makeshift pier. You know what I mean? These are the things that combat engineers are known for throughout history, throughout whatever nation. They will do the impossible with rubber band and, black tape and spit, make you whatever you need to get through this battle. So, so when you think about war, it's not always about just shooting, getting your gun and all that and shooting people. Nah, man, it's about building stuff that isn't supposed to be built, making things happen, using things that weren't designed to be used in that way. And all that is, with the intent of accomplishing the mission. So, hats off to those guys.
Yes, 100%. All right. What I'm showing you on Google Maps over here is the harbor mole itself. All right. If I zoom out here, in case you want to know where we are on Google Maps, Dunkirk. And you're wondering where's Dunkirk? There you go. Up in northern France, up at the tip of northern France, right here. All right. So anyway, here is where the ships were unloading and offloading, mainly at this harbor mole right there, if you can see that. Yep. Just want to show the folks here. And here is the beaches itself, right here. Of course, it was a lot different than 1942. 1942 was a lot smaller. DL, have you seen the movie Dunkirk?
I have.
Yeah. What do you think?
I have seen the movie Dunkirk, and not too terrible. The thing that was missing in that movie were all the people. Mm-hmm. You got to understand, you had hundreds of thousands of soldiers on those beaches.
Yep.
There were no gaps. You know what I mean? It was guy, truck, guy. There were no gaps. Those dudes were sitting around waiting to be rescued. Those guys were wading out into the water. Some of the dudes were taking out their stuff and they were swimming out to the bigger ships. They knew they had to get off that beach. There was fighting going on. The French rear guard was doing their thing, but they knew that wasn't going to hold forever. And there were still fighters getting through there. The Royal Air Force weren't flying many sorties. They didn't have the range.
Mm-hmm.
So they couldn't get over there and actually do what they needed to do and then get back. So those men were pretty much on their own. So just imagine that beach, it just shows you just full of people. I mean,
Yep.
full of people, like spring break on steroids.
100%. Yeah, I guess Christopher Nolan did what he had because he probably couldn't get like enough personnel or whatever though. But
He couldn't get permits. His problem was he couldn't get permits.
right, that too. Also, one thing I have to pick out overall, I think the movie was pretty good. If I had to pick out any negative out of that movie, is one, as you mentioned there. Second is the how do I say this? Okay, remember at the beginning of the movie, you see the buildings around that are, too well maintained, let's just say.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in 1942, Dunkirk itself was utterly up. Like the Nazis up that town up. Like we're talking about demolished buildings, nothing was standing. And of course, I get what Christopher Nolan did. He filmed it in the actual city of Dunkirk, which I'll give my flowers to him for that. However, that for history wise, yeah, it's just imagine the buildings more fucked up,
I mean,
up.
But if you look at like Saving Private Ryan, that wasn't shot in Normandy. You know what I mean?
No.
They actually shot on beaches in a different country. I mean, I wish Nolan had made a better creative decision. Like you want to get that part, you want to get right.
Mm-hmm.
How cramped, how big, how jacked up everything was. It was an active war zone. Of course, everything was blown out. They were constantly shelling. You know what I mean? They were constantly being bombed. You know what I mean? Tanks were firing on. Yeah, that place would have been a wreck. It would have been a wreck. So, yeah, I mean, the movie turned out to be halfway decent, but you could tell he couldn't do exactly what he wanted to do.
Yeah, exactly. And the third one, I'd pick out is at the end of the movie. You know how the movie pans out and you see the overhead view of the city itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you see that, it was a little too big for its time. Again, 1942, it was a lot smaller, and I get it. Dunkirk grew over the years. Oh, but yeah, it was kind of like inflawed, and once again, it looked a little too neat for its time. The buildings looked a little too well maintained for an active war zone that has been bombed repeatedly by Goring. Like I'm telling you.
Absolutely. And like if you want to know what we're talking about, man, look at some pictures of Ukraine. Look at the capital of Ukraine, 2 years ago, and then look at a picture of the capital of Ukraine now. I mean, it's an active war zone. It's going to look different.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, going on number 4.
Round 4. Fight!
The controversial Halt order. German command frustrated with this order, including guys like Guderian, because they literally having the Allies at the ropes. Hitler wanted Churchill to make peace with him, offering good gesture. And that alone ends up buying the Allies enough time to fortify their defenses in Calais, Lille, and of course, Dunkirk. And the other reason for this controversial Halt order was that, as I said, Goring persuaded Hitler that he can take on Dunkirk alone, eliminate both the BEF and the French. So that's why he will draw the Panzer troops so they won't get accidentally bombed by Stuka strikes. That was why. That was another reason why they thought they were halted. But nonetheless, that order itself, saving the Allies themselves. Well, Hitler was like, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9. Dude, I love that. I love that soundbite. You got to get it for yours, DL. It's cool. All right. Final reason.
Final round. Fight!
All right, this is what DL was talking about earlier. The spirit of Dunkirk itself. All right, while the Royal Navy were confiscating smaller yachts for the evacuation efforts, civilians took matters into their own hands by taking their own ships and evacuating the troops themselves. One of them is a man named Charles Lightoller, former lieutenant of the Titanic. And so this man already seen like drama in his life already as is. even after the sinking of the Titanic. And you have Dunkirk on top of that. And so, of course, being a Navy man himself, ended up getting, I think, his son and one of his mates, or one of his, I forget, one of his crewmen, I guess you could say. I don't know, a third guy. And then just when members of the Royal Navy were about to confiscate his boats, he's just like, you. I'm doing this myself. I grabs his keys, grabs his son, grabs the other mate, and they just sailed away, saying, doing this myself. So as what DL mentioned before, yes, there was huge love, a huge patriotism that happened within the British people. So again, they took matters into their own hands and started rescuing troops, which no one actually really saw coming, but it happened.
Yeah. So when they sent the order out, from the way I understand it, those people who were like, yeah, please take my ship. They were coming to take the ships. They would send a small crew. So they knew what type of ship it was. So they would send 2 or 3 naval personnel to go take the ship and crew the ship and do what it had to do, bring it back. That was the thing. But most of the, most of the citizens were like, nah, you know what I mean? F off, mate. Well, off we go. And they went on their own. The reason the government wanted to send Navy personnel because they were sending them into a war zone, and they didn't want civilians to go. However, it is what it is. What I mean? You look at like this country here. America was formed by a civilian fighting force. You guys all heard the story of Minutemen and how that worked out. So it's the same kind of thing, bro. Like, you have people. There are still real men, real patriots out there that will stand up and fight for their home, fight for their country. Most people will, in fact, when properly threatened. So even here with all the soy boys and whatnot roaming around America, when you properly threaten them, you're going to shut down their 4G and they can't play their video games. Yeah, they'll come out and defend they'll defend that. But no, hats off to the British people, man. Like those folks to this day are real. They're still patriotic. I mean, they're very different politically. They argue back and forth, but if there's a threat, they will all join up together and face it. So I'm always, impressed with people from the UK.
A good example of the recent events, the Canadian trucker convoy.
Yeah, your neck of the woods.
Yep, yes, sir. Not only that, even the biggest stoners, weed smokers, had enough, and they went to Ottawa and saying enough is enough. Like, you can only push people so far to the breaking point where it's like, yeah, no more. They take matters to their own hands. Again, kind of like the spirit of Dunkirk. The British take matters to their own hands because they know the upcoming threats of what's happening in the other side of the channel. Yeah.
And you got to realize, too, World War I wasn't that far in the rearview mirror. So there are a lot of people who still, they didn't trust the Hun. You know what I mean? They still had their problems with Germany. So it made sense to them, just kind of like in America. Russia has always been our mortal enemy, at least for 3 or 4 generations. So it shocked me when people were like supporting Russia. I'm like, bro, what America are you from? It just shows you how things have changed. I mean, we had all kind of the Red Dawn is a movie about Russia invading America.
I remember that movie.
They did it twice. Yeah, they did it twice.
Charlie Sheen.
Yes, that was the first one, and then they did a remake. So, and in the remake, it was China. China and North Korea were chasing us or fighting us.
Yeah, it was mainly North Korea. They tried to do China though, but they're like, nope, that's gonna scare away our
money.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, our money, because that's where their main audience is in China, because they need that sweet Chinese money. So therefore,
so you make a movie about North Korea coming over here and invading America. Like, bro, you want to talk about fantasy? Come on, man. They can't even turn on lights at night. They're going to come over here and mess with America?
Exactly. Dude, it's pretty crazy on how, the reason why you see all these empty big towns in China.
Yeah, I've gone through China. I went from Beijing to Shanghai on their bullet train. First of all, their bullet train is better than the Japanese bullet train. I rode both. I was shocked how nice the Chinese bullet train is. The only problem with the Chinese bullet train is it's in China. You know what I mean? That's like the only problem with it. But yeah, when you go through and you see these it was just building after building after building, brand new, these huge, like small towns, little villages, man. And there's no people. Got all these buildings and no people. All this infrastructure. I did not understand that until recently. I was on someone was on Fresh and Fit talking about it.
I forget his name with an Eastern European accent. That's all I know. Though,
yes, that guy.
All I know is that he said like there's a huge real estate market in China. So stocks go up. So you put on a property value and within a piece of land in China, it goes up. So what the Chinese people do is they would buy a piece of property and they wait till it goes up and up in value without living in it. Then they sell it for double the price.
Yeah, they were flipping it. So, yeah. But here's the thing. They were buying these properties sight unseen prior to them being built.
Mm-hmm.
And now that's the big thing in China and it's hard to get information out of China when they want to shut that Iron Curtain comes falling down. Yeah. It's hard to get info out even now. But apparently right now there are a lot of people pissed off. And there's all kind of uprisings all over China.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so and it looks like they're fighting. So we had our real estate bubble burst back in 08, 09. Y'all, I'm sure you guys remember that, right? It was real bad. Imagine that 100x. Imagine that 100x. That's China right now. And so the Chinese Communist Party is having a serious issue right now. We're just waiting to see how it plays out. And you notice none of this is in the mainstream media. None of it. You have to go like Al Jazeera, BBC. But here in America, you can't find it in mainstream media. You can find it in some print. Obscure print, online forums or whatnot. And of course, you can find it on YouTube. And even YouTube is suppressing this information as best they can. So, man, it changes the game. China's they got some problems right now.
Guys, like the video on your goddamn way in because we just gave you some huge fire right there. So we kind of went off topic on that one though, but we just kind of want that out of the way on what kind of stuff that China's playing right now. In case you're wondering, what's with these ghost towns? Now you know. Anyway,
and apparently they're demolishing a lot of these buildings that they built. So not only people were buying and flipping, sight unseen and all this kind of stuff, but now that they didn't build the stuff that they said they were going to build, it was already been paid for. They've been paying their mortgage, but they're tearing down the buildings that were already built. Yep. So this is what that was it. That was the last straw. Chinese folks are upset. It's just a matter of time before good old Uncle Sam drops off some collection of costs or whatever they need over there. Hey, you want to do something with that? You know what I mean? Here's a javelin. That'll stop a tank. Go do what you got to do. We'll figure out how to get it to him.
Yeah, 100%, guy. 100. All right. Anyway, we should get on topic and back to the show. All right, the next slide I want to show you, DL, and the rest of the people in the audience is this right here, the Dunkirk Defenses here. All right, so this is like the pretty much like the final straw for the Allies. All right, the defenses here. Okay, go through these bullet points for you guys here. Before we go, the dotted lines that you see there, those were the French defenses. You see the black solid lines on the right. That's the British defenses. Okay, on the 27th of May. So the British and French ended up, including all the communication with the chaos and the Belgians surrendering and all that jazz. They ended up working together to coordinate a defense for the evacuation efforts. So on 27th of May, Anglo-French commanders established a plan for the defense of the beaches itself. The French would hold the west while the British holds the east. This refers to as the outer perimeter. It was 25 miles long, approximately 8 miles deep. These canals and waterways around Dunkirk made the perfect cover for a defensive position. So you have British and French troops like at these these canals and waterways, like protect themselves from shrapnel and whatnot. So they really didn't have to dig in. They just hop on these canals and just hold the line. All right, so many of these troops, however, forfeited their chances to evacuate by holding the defensive line, buying evacuation more and more time. So we talk about Lille, we'll talk about Calais. Now we talk about these boys holding the line here. So you talk about like some heroic right there. Like telling you. And all right.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the reaction that the British Expeditionary Force was very grateful to the French for doing that, and they know that it cost, like, again, for every minute, you know what I mean, it costs lives. For every minute, for all the minutes that they bought, all that extra time they bought, that time was paid for in human life, and they knew it. And I mean, you talk about, just putting your life on the line. That's what they were doing. A lot of Frenchmen died in a very loud and grotesque manner, but their actions were heroic, and actually it led to eventually defeating the German army. I mean, that was the beginning, but were it not for those actions at the very beginning, we wouldn't have had the war turn out the way it did.
Oh yeah. And all right, okay. We romanticized Dunkirk a little too much because there was another operation that was like Dunkirk called Operation Ariel, if you heard of it.
And I don't think I'm familiar with Ariel.
All right, so here we go. Operation Ariel. Well, I will tell you, kind sir. A little known part of the Second World War history that deserves recognition. Like Dunkirk, a series of evacuations took place in northern France. Elements of the BEF were cut off south of the River Somme or isolated near the Maginot Line as Rommel advances his panzers on May and early June. So, you have these 5 cities here. Saint Malo, 21,474 troops evacuated. Brest, 32,584 troops evacuated. Saint Nazaire, 57,235 troops evacuated. Cherbourg, 30,630 troops evacuated. Bayonne and Saint-Jean-de-Luz, 19,000 troops evacuated. Okay, so in total since Dunkirk, you have 144,106. Let me see that again. Okay. 144,171 BEF troops evacuated. Whew, there we go. I just got a little tongue twisted there.
It's all good, bro. Happens all the time.
A lot of talking here. 18,236 French troops evacuated. 24,352 Polish troops evacuated. So you're probably like, what? What the fuck? Oh, yeah. The Polish evacuated in the West after the fall of Poland back in September 1939 because elements of the Polish military wanted payback, but they ended up going to get another chance now when they evacuated to Great Britain.
Yeah, there's a movie out there about Polish aviators. There was a Polish squadron in the RAF. Yeah, and that was a really good movie. And the saddest part about that is how they were treated at the end of the war when they returned home. That was the saddest part.
Getting executed by Stalin. Oh, fuck that guy.
A little bit of that, you know what I mean? But it was a lot of just getting tortured and having to be locked up. And these men were heroes. I mean, it was one of the most effective squadrons in the Royal Air Force during the Second World War. So, hats off to the Poles, man. They did their thing.
You probably wondered why Churchill did this. Well, he was trying to make peace with Stalin after the war. He was trying to keep friends with him. Kind of de-escalate the inevitable, I should say, which is of course the Cold War.
Now, Patton wanted a hot war. Patton was like, "Yo, we're already over here." It was right there, like in Berlin. We're already here. We're gonna have to fight these dudes.
So what Eisenhower was like, dude, you are. In fact, I'm relieving you. And so, yeah. But anyway, I was going to get through these last two. 4,938 Czechs, 163 Belgians. So, again, there was a lot of resentment with the Belgians, towards the Belgians. Because, again, when King Leopold didn't tell the British and the French were surrendering, the Anglo-French were like, what? What the fuck? And they're like, yeah, well, you too then. Because, again, what DL said, Leopold really had a very, very hard decision to make. And, he got a lot of shit even after the war, too. So that's all I know about the man.
Yeah, I mean, I can't knock his decision, man. He did what he had to do for his people. And, Leadership, man. You know, what's the old saying, man? That where he is the head, to wears the crown. He had to do what's best for his people, man. I can't knock him for that. Yeah, it'd been nice if he let people know what he was doing, but hey.
Yeah.
You know
And this is the end result of it. You know how you mentioned before they left a lot of equipment behind?
Oh, yeah. They left everything behind.
Oh, I got the numbers right here, dude.
All right.
All right. They left behind 475 tanks, 1,855 field wireless sets, 38,000 total vehicles. We're talking about jeeps, troop transports, ambulances, all that stuff. 8,000 field telephones, 400 anti-tank guns, 1,000 heavy guns, 8,000 Bren guns, 90,000 rifles, and 70,000 tons of ammo. So, even though they got the troops evacuated, the equipment left behind, they were in trouble big time. So that's why they really needed FDR's help. That's what Churchill himself begged for himself. Like, come on, dude, just give me some help. Just give me a handshake. Tell me I'm doing a good job. Whatever. Just give me some goddamn support, man. Help us.
Yeah.
Well, he ended up doing it, which is the what was it? The Lend-Lease program.
Yep. Lend-Lease program, because he really wanted, ships and airplanes and tanks. But yeah, bombs, bullets, and band-aids. And if he didn't have those soldiers, it didn't matter. You know what I mean? It just wouldn't have mattered. At least he had the men. If he didn't have the men, it wouldn't matter. So, it was just that's how you got to deal with problems, people. You got to deal one step at a time. All right, first step, let's save these dudes. Right, all right, we got the dudes saved. They left all the equipment. Or we could work on that problem next. Hey, America, what's going on? You know what I mean? And, great, Britain was still almost kind of great. They had a lot of, provinces and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So they were able to get raw materials and stuff that they need to do what they had to do. So, and obviously, because it worked out, you see how it all turned out. So, Churchill was the man.
Yeah, 100%, dude, 100. All right. There was also controversial with the role of the Royal Air Force. While troops were on the ground, they really didn't see much action in the air. They were getting taken out by Stukas, Heinkels, whatever, the whole 9 yards. And the troops there are where is our air support? Where is the RAF? Where is the RAF? However, the RAF Fighter Command attracted criticism for its apparent absence from the skies. In fact, it had broken up many of the Luftwaffe's attacks further inland. Okay, so we'll talk about let's say here, you're a retired ATC, so you can elaborate this more than I can. The whole objective of the RAF is to draw the planes away from the beaches. The whole purpose of the role is to divert as many attention far away from the beaches as possible. And of course, yeah, there are a few stragglers along the line still, but they can't get to them all.
Yeah, I mean, it was a different war. Different era. Honestly, I would have been holding back my fighters because that Germany's coming to attack the island. So you don't want to really risk your Air Force. And I know there's people well, that's kind of harsh to say. Look, man, weather was on their side. Maybe it would have been different if it were clear skies. They would have been forced to commit more fighters. But for every fighter that got shot down, that was one less fighter to protect the homeland. So, it's not like they had a lot of, hurricanes and Spitfires to begin with. Mm-hmm. So it's, you gotta be smart. You gotta hold on to your most valuable resources. And if Germany had managed to get air superiority over Great Britain, then that they would have invaded, and that'd have been the end of that. So and as it stood, they barely were able to stop the Brits. And I'm talking about the Battle of Britain. It was luck. It was, a German bomber crew got lost and dropped bombs on London, and Churchill said, okay, go drop bombs on Berlin. Then they got mad, and then that's when that whole thing, they came away from their strategic targets, and that gave the RAF enough time to recover and train up more pilots and so on. So it's just funny how fate turns on certain things. Yeah. the soldiers and all that in Dunkirk were a little upset at the RAF. Like, where were you lot? You guys weren't, where's the RAF? But they weren't saying that during the Battle of Britain, when they were all sitting down, in their bunkers, and those boys were flying. Those boys were going up 3-4 times a day trying to, hold off this, this German Air Force. So
all that
went back
forgotten.
and forth. It went back and forth.
Give it the Luftwaffe lost 78 planes, while the RAF lost 84. So they did committed at the evacuation efforts. In fact, when some airmen were shot down and into the sea, they were trying to swim at the boats. Some Navy men were rejecting them, going, "Get the out of here. We'll pick up the soldiers only. Your aircraft's supposed to get us cover. Get the hell out of here. Wait your turn."
Yeah, same thing.
There was a lot of resentment because, again, they really didn't know what was going on above the skies. Because, again, it was very cloudy. They couldn't really see what was going on. Just imagine if the RAF wasn't there at all. But they would be great with Stukas and Heinkel's and Messerschmitts.
Yeah, it would have caught it. But, I mean, it all worked out. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's just one of those things. Like, again, Battle of Britain was next. Yep. So, like, all those Navy guys, all those soldiers, they were all on the ground while the RAF was going up there doing what they had to do. So, it is what it is. I'm sure they came to peace with it at the end of the war.
Well, yeah, they definitely. And after the evacuation efforts was on the 4th of June, Winston Churchill's made this famous speech. It was 5 minutes long, though, but we're not going to deal with it. I was going to give it like a minute clip of it. So, you want to hear it, DL? Because I do.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, and then because I got to
break it down.
Going. Yeah, we'll break it down. Then I gotta get moving. I got like I said, I got the little girl. She's getting hungry. She's like, "Papa, where's dinner?" I'm like,
all right.
We'll defend to the death their native soil, aiding each other like good comrades to the utmost of their strength. We shall go on to the end. We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender.
And then on 18th of June, he addressed the House of Commons. The speech of "This was their finest hour."
The whole fury and might of the enemy must very soon be turned on us. Hitler knows that he will have to break us in this island or lose the war. If we can stand up to him, all Europe may be free, and the life of the world may move forward into broad, sunlit uplands. But if we fail, then the whole world, including the United States, including all that we have known and cared for, will sink into the abyss of a new dark age, made more sinister and perhaps more protracted by the lights of perverted science. Let us, therefore, brace ourselves to our duties, and so bear ourselves that if the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say, this was their finest hour.
Dude,
yeah, bro.
That makes you want to enlist and shoot some Nazis, dude.
Like, bro, man, like the darkest hour for anyone who's watching this and might be thinking of a good movie, a good World War II movie to watch about, Winston Churchill. Darkest Hour, man. That was with Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
That. Excellent movie. Yes, they took some creative liberties during that movie. There's a scene in particular when he was in the subway talking to just regular Britons. And they had some little kid in there. It was a great scene. I'm glad they did it. You know what I mean? It just made the movie that much more poignant. But check that movie out. If you want to see how difficult and how close Great Britain came to fall into Nazi rule, that's the movie that they'll point out to you. And you want to know what it's like to be a leader. I mean, honestly, if you really want to know what it's like to be a leader, that's a great movie because that pressure is on you. That pressure to conform and cower in the corner with all the other sheep, it's on you. You know what I mean? But true leaders, they persevere. They do what's right. They don't do what's easy. So that's a real good movie, and that's what World War II boiled down to, man. It was people doing what was right. So yeah, man, great show, bro.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, a couple of things I want to clear out. Remember when I said when Paris fell and decided to take it as an open city, and they moved the capital to Vichy? It was actually Tours, not Vichy. It was Tours and then Vichy.
Yeah, and then they wound up calling them Vichy French, who actually fought against Americans
in Algeria.
Yeah, in Algeria and even in France until we were able to get back into the invasion of Europe, and that's when they pretty much stopped, and de Gaulle came in, and people were like, "Oh, let's follow de Gaulle." But man, that was people really should do that. Like, watch podcasts like this. We'll talk about World War II. Watch the History Channel. Watch Netflix documentaries.
Yep. I
mean, America is what America is today because of World War II. Most Americans don't realize that, and and it was an even trade. Without France, there would have been no Americas. No way we would have defeated the Redcoats back in the day. No way without France. So without France, there would be no America, and without America, there would be no France. And that's because of World War II. So people should know that.
Hell yeah, 100%, guy. No, but anyway, that concludes the episode of Dunkirk. So, guys, like the video on the way in, so DL and I can level on the way out. And thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, man. So, you know how soldiers pray, like how Marines pray over here, right?
How do they pray, DL?
Pray! This is my rifle. There are many like it, but this one is mine.
That's how we pray over here, bro.
Hell yeah.
That's how we pray while holding your M14. You should get America. Go out and get yourself a nice M1A1. There's one right behind me there. Amazing piece of equipment. You know what I mean?
Your Second Amendment rights are beautiful, man.
Hey, bro, number 2 amendment is the best ever.
Yeah, we do have firearms here in Canada, though, but we're more rifle owners than pistol owners, and even Trudeau wants to get rid of that because, I don't know, because pistols hurt his feelings or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
that guy's screwed. I don't know.
They want to take your pistols because they don't want you to get mad and stand up for yourselves, right? Just to see what happens to those truckers. You know what I mean? It is what it is, man. And, and I hope, but for real, like, my heart does go out to your country, man. That was horrible what those 2 guys did a few days back with those attacks there, man. It was absolutely horrific. Yeah. I haven't really been following that too close. Did they catch those guys? I know they know who they are, but I don't know if they had actually tracked them down yet.
They're still at large. They've been looking up since May.
Wow.
Dude, it's been a manhunt for a while. These guys know where to hide, and hopefully they're actually I pray for the people in Saskatchewan, especially in the prairies. God forbid if they come here in Ontario. Oof.
Yeah, man, that's something. I definitely need to go flush those dudes out, man. Down here, the Texas Rangers are good at tracking people down, man. So I need some help. Pretty sure we'll send them up there.
So Trudeau, if you're smart enough, hire those guys. But he's not, though. But I don't expect any miracles out of that guy. Anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. Next episode, I don't know what I'm gonna do next. I don't know what I feel like doing. I might do Battle Britain. I might do Pearl Harbor / Midway. I don't know. I might have to think that over. DL, last thoughts. You want to plug your stuff in? Instagram, YouTube.
Oh, we did a good job on that, man. They know where to find me. Thanks to you, man. I saw all of the tags and stuff going on, so I appreciate that. Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, DL saying I really want to know. Podcast on Instagram. I really want to know podcast, all one word. You can find me there. But my focus is on YouTube. Thanks for having me, bro. This was fun. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, we're gonna get this going, keep this cranking. It's all about putting in the work. Just put in the work, man. Like all the guys were telling me, just you got to do it. It's gonna take time. Be patient. Don't stop. That's the key. Don't stop, man.
Trust the process.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, man. This was fun.
No problem. Till then, guys. See you later.